In this video, we're going to continue working on section 5.4, and we're going to see problems where we're factoring trinomials whose leading coefficient is not 1. So in other words, you have a number in front of x squared that's not the number 1. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently than the way that the book does it. The book shows a guess and check method, and then for the very last example, they show another method that they call grouping. What I find is that most students prefer to do these problems using grouping, so I'm going to just explain that from the beginning and then use that method to do all of these examples. If you want to see the guess and check method, you can look in the book or watch the videos that the book makes, and you'll see that there. So the grouping method has some other names. It's also called the key number method and the AC method. So if you're looking up videos for this, if you want to see some other videos, keep in mind that those are also terms that you can search to find more videos about this. So the grouping method, the first step is to calculate A times C. So you're going to multiply the number in front of x squared by the constant, and that's going to give you a number. Second step is to find two numbers that multiply to AC and add to B. So this is a little bit similar to doing the trinomials that we saw in the last video, where you are looking for two numbers that multiply to C and add to B. Now I want two numbers that multiply to AC and add to B. Unlike the other problems though, instead of just putting these two numbers in the spots in parentheses, there's some other steps that I have to do as well. So once I find those two numbers, what I'm going to do is replace the middle term with two terms with these coefficients. So the two numbers that I find in step 2 are going to become the coefficients that we're going to replace the middle term with. And then lastly, we're going to factor using grouping. So we'll get some more practice with grouping here. So we're going to start by looking at example 7, and again I'm going to do this differently than in the book because I'm going to use the grouping method. So my first step is to calculate A times C. So this is A in front of x squared, B in front of x, C is the number by itself. That's the way we always label trinomials. So A is 5, C is 8. 8 times C, 5 times 8 is 40. Now, what I'm looking for is two numbers that multiply to 40 and add to B, which is negative 14. Since they're multiplying to a positive number and adding to a negative number, that tells me that both of them are negative. So possible combinations of numbers that multiply to 40 would be 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and 5 times 8. The pair that is going to add to 14, or negative 14 once I make them both negative, is going to be 4 times 10. So my factors are going to be negative 10 and negative 4 here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up the middle term. So my first term is still 5x squared. I'm going to break up negative 14x into negative 10x and minus 4x. So you should think of this as kind of undoing combining like terms. I could combine these back together and get negative 14x, but I'm going backwards from that. And it doesn't matter if I put the negative 4 here first and then the negative 10, I would still get the same answer in the end. So that's breaking up the middle term. you're just separating it into two terms with these coefficients. The factors that you found are the coefficients. And then I factor using grouping, so split it into two groups, factor the GCF out of the first group. That's going to be 5x, and that's going to leave x minus 2. Then I can put x minus 2 here, and what goes on the outside so that when I distribute I get minus 4x plus 8. Well, it needs to be 4, and it needs to be negative 4 to make the signs negative 4x, negative 4 times negative 2 to get positive 8. So there's the groups, and then I'm going to have the two sets of parentheses. One is x minus 2, the other is 5x minus 4. You can write the 5x minus 4 first. The order that you put the parentheses in doesn't matter. So this is the answer. What you should do next is checkpoint problem number 7. This one is a little bit trickier because the factors that you have to figure out are a little bit harder to think of. So I'm going to give you a hint here. The hint is that 6 times 14 equals 84. So you're going to find that little fact useful in doing this problem. So do this in your notes, check your answer with the notes that are posted, and then you can move on with the rest of the video. Next, we're going to look at example 11, and we're also going to do this using the grouping method. So this is just another example showing that method. So my first step is to calculate A times C. In this case, A is 12 and C is negative 2. So 12 times negative 2 means my AC is negative, which tells me when I'm looking for my factors, I'm looking for one positive factor and one negative factor because they're multiplying to a negative number. They're adding to negative 5, multiplying to negative 24. So I'm going to list the pairs here, and then keep in mind that they're, since one's positive and one's negative, I'm going to think about which pair subtracts to 5. So 24 times 1, 12 times 2, 8 times 3, and 6 times 4. 8 times 3 is the pair that subtracts to 5. And since I have negative 5 here, the negative sign needs to be on the 8. So negative 8 plus 3 equals negative 5. Negative 8 times 3 equals negative 24. So now I'm on to step 3, replacing the middle term. So 12x squared stays the same. I'm going to put minus 8x plus 3x. Again, you could put plus 3x first, minus 8x second. The order doesn't matter. And then my last term here is minus 2. That doesn't change either. Now I split it into two groups and factor using grouping. So in the first pair, I can take out a 4x, and that leaves me with 3x minus 2. I can pull 3x minus 2 over here, and then what needs to go on the outside? Well, I don't need any numbers, and I don't need to change the signs, so it's just going to be plus 1 on the outside. So my answer would be 4x plus 1, 3x minus 2. So that's example 11. Next, you should do checkpoint problem number 11. Do this in your notes, check your answer with the notes that are posted, and then you can move on with the homework.